G'day everyone. Okay, before I start, I'm going to preface this with the fact that this is something a little bit different for me. So I'm going to walk you through the process. I know that it's sped up, but as you can see in front of me, I'm actually using a layered cut file. Now there's 4 layers to this cut file, and I've multiplied the cut file by 4. Okay, are you confused? Stick with me. Trust me. In the end, you see the result, and I think it looks fantastic. So this particular layout is for our Anzac Day, which is the day that I'm uploading this, is Anzac Day for us here in Australia. For everyone else that doesn't know what Anzac Day is, Anzac stands for I'm going to mess this up. Australian New Zealand Army Corps. That's what it stands for, and we commemorate, so it's kind of like you guys overseas, so in the US, it's like when you guys, when you celebrate your military for whether it's something they've achieved or that sort of thing. It's not Australia Day, it's what it's for is actually when we celebrate it on the day. I can't say we celebrate it. We take time in and we pause on the 25th of April because that's the day that our troops from Australia and New Zealand, and we landed on the beaches of Gallipoli. And it's a very somber occasion. It's not, I wouldn't say that we celebrate it. We celebrate their lives and we celebrate what they have given us, which is our freedom and all of that sort of thing. So I'm just letting you know that is a little bit of the history as to why I'm creating this particular layout on this particular day. Now, if you're watching this first thing in the morning, I will be doing a live today as well. So I'll be going live at midday my time. So if you want to jump on YouTube and join me, have a chit chat, whatever you like. I'll be doing some scrapbooking. It won't necessarily be, this is kind of my big, I'm going to do a page that is commemorative as well, but this is my really big one. So as you can see, while I've been talking, I've been going through and I've been getting my inks together. I'm using Distress Oxides, and I'm not trying to make this a neat, even blend. I'm trying to make it look darker and lighter in different places. So I'm using a mixture of different inks on each varying layer. So what I'm actually creating is the camo that is usually worn by our army. Now, I could not find a layered cut file for our Anzacs. If anyone's watching this and they have a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter and they're in the army, I apologize in advance. This is not actually the bunnies and jelly beans look that it's supposed to be because I could not find that. But this, I think, is pretty close. It's pretty close. And I found this link on Etsy, and I thought I could make it probably look pretty close. So this is essentially my reveal of the layers. This is what I'm doing here. Now, I am doing that for some reason, my Cricut, there's just little bits that every so often they don't cut. I know it's my Cricut, I know it's user error, but I don't quite know how to fix it. So as you can see, what I've put down, the very base color, I've used antique linen, which I thought was a pretty good sort of sandy color, like a desert color. But now looking at it, I probably could have gone a little bit darker. I don't know what color I could have used. Maybe a little bit of the tea dye in the Distress Oxide. Maybe I could have two-toned it rather than just using the heavy and the light applications of it. That probably would have given me a better result. It is okay. We live and we learn. So this particular cut file, I will link the one that I used in case you want to use it. I'll be honest with you, this went together like perfectly. Like I had no issue whatsoever in putting this together. I did keep everything on my mats. I did keep them, and that's what I used on all my, as you can see, I did just put that one down in a different spot. That's why it ends up looking slightly different at the end. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Camo is not a repetitive pattern all over. Like, it's not like a Dalmatian where all the spots have to be in the same spot. It's camo. So as you can see, what I'm using, I'm just doing the template. I'm using the outside bit as kind of a template, and then I'm just puzzle piecing. That's really all I'm doing. So, and I think in the end, it turns out really good. I'm really, really happy with it. It's completely different to what I did last year, and it's totally different to what I'm going to be doing in my live. So later on. So I just wanted to give it a completely different feel. Now, this particular cut file, they actually have on Etsy, they've got your marine. So here in Australia, we have our Air Force, our Navy, our I'm going to stuff this up because I don't know all of it, but I know that there's Army, Navy, and Air Force. I know we have that. Submarines, I imagine, is a part of the Navy. Like, I don't really know all that behind the scenes. But when I jumped on and I was looking for a cut file, because this is the idea I had in my head for my main Anzac layout that I wanted to put up for everybody in the morning, I wanted to do a camo page. Now, I shrunk all of this down. So the cut file, you can make it 12 by 12. And you can use one of these and make it 12 by 12. I personally felt that was going to be too chunky. Like, the pieces were going to be giant. So I didn't want it to look like that. That's why I just duplicated it. And I just did I just duplicated it 4 times, or duplicated it 3 times. So I had 4 squares. And then that way I can just piece it together. Well, you'll see what I do in a second. So the other thing I want, while I'm just doing this puzzle piecing piece, as you can see, I'm literally just putting the pieces back in, and I am lifting them up as I go so that I don't accidentally glue down the top sheet. So something I do want to touch on while we're here, I've now got 1,470 subscribers. So as soon as we hit 1,500, which I'm hoping we can do by the end of April. If we can hopefully get it by the end of April, if not, first week of May, I'm having a cash giveaway. That is what I'm giving back to you guys. It is going to be 2 prizes. It will be a $50 cash first prize, and it will be $25. This is Australian. So this is the disclaimer that I'm having. So I'm going to have a $50 Australian because it's open to anyone. I will get it to you no matter where you are in the world. Everyone will go into the draw, and I will pop it up so you can see that you were in the draw, and to see who wins. So I do use an app for it. So a lot of people, they all do it the same sort of way. So yeah, so it's super fun, and it's super easy. It's going to be exactly like my last one, where you have to simply like the videos for a set period of time. You have to like and comment on the videos, and that will help no end for the channel to continue to grow. Now, why do I want it to grow? I want it to grow because I love teaching people different things. I love meeting new people, and that's what this channel's all about. So this is something, you may have a Cricut and you may never have thought of doing something along these lines. So like I said, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to teach. So Now this is where I decided I needed to join these blocks together. I had a little bit of a play and I thought about putting them in the four corners, but then I thought, no, I think I want them behind the photos the way they are at the moment. Now I've just drawn a couple of little marks on the page because I want to go ahead and around the outside edge of my four squares, I sort of wanted to create a bit of color on the page. Now I'm just going heavy-handed with the inks. It is literally just ink heaven. I have to say my right arm was getting a bit sore by the end of this. Like when I take something on like this, I don't really think about how long it's going to take me to ink everything up and all that sort of bizzo, but I love the end result, and I think see how it just softens the edge. So that's what I was thinking of doing. Now you got to watch right to the very end because I do add some extra in there. Now I'm using gathered twigs. So the colors that I chose were gathered twigs, which is the brown I'm using there, antique linen, which is that light sand color, wild honey pine needles, that's what I use on my title, and walnut stain, rustic wilderness, and peeled paint. They're the colors that I've used on the entire layout. Now this is a military, it's called military something. I'm trying to think what it's called. It's a font that I found in the Cricut design space, and it is fantastic. I absolutely love it. Normally I do the title and then I do an offset, but for this particular layout I wanted it to be more of, like on your dog tags, your tags from around your neck. Wanted it to sort of have that kind of vibe to it. So not that, look, to be completely honest, I've never seen a set of dog tags personally other than what's in the movies, and we know that that's not necessarily always right. This is me just having a play with some colors to see. I actually had the thought that maybe I wanted to introduce blue, but then I thought, no, green and gold, because Australia, when we celebrate anything, we go with green and gold, and that's our sort of national colours that we always seem to use. So I decided to do the title with green and gold. Now this is pine needles, and I used that one specifically because it's a really bright green and it'll stand out over and above the camo is what I was trying to say. So I'm using the gold and I'm using the green, the pine needles, and I absolutely love how this works out. I'm just using the finger daubers to get it on there because I find that because it's a smaller space, the sponge kind of gets saturated and then the ink just sits in it. That's why I quite often I did have someone ask me the other day, when I'm doing my titles like this, what do I prefer to use? Now, I do like using the finger daubers because it gets a lot of colour and colour saturation on there easily with not a lot of waste. I do find when I use my brushes that I feel like I'm just putting so much onto them and it sort of soaks right up into the top part of the bristles. So that's why I use my finger daubers a fair bit. Now, as you can see, this is where I'm about to start putting my title down. I decided that I wanted to do the ground espresso. I think that's the color that yes, it is ground espresso. That's the color that I'm using, or is it walnut stain? Walnut stain it is. And I wanted to go around the outside edge, and I debated whether I wanted to go around the edges of the camo. I ended up doing it, and I'm glad I did because it sort of gives it a little bit of a shadow. You've got that border on it. It kind of feels like it's not falling off now. I know I say that all the time, and it's probably just my weird, quirky brain, but that's how I think of it. So now I'm just pulling my Anzac. Now, as you can see, I've got little floaty bits in the middle of my letters. Don't stress. I'll show you a little trick how I do that and deal with that in the end. Now, my title is Anzac Day, March 2009, because that's the year that I'm celebrating. As you can see here, I just used a wet wipe, took that Distress Oxide off the mat, and it goes back perfectly sticky, and it's not a problem at all. Now, this is where I was having a quick look and a bit of a fiddle to see how far I wanted to put my title up and across. So yeah, it works. I think it turns out pretty good. Now, I have chosen to glue down my outside border, and then I come in with some foam tape. Now, I'm going to show you a little thing that I did with the foam tape. Am I entirely happy with the end result? No. But with a little bit of practice, I think I could make it work a whole lot better. Now, what I did this time with my title, instead of using, so I've used the fine strips, the thin strips that I get, and I've used those, I've put those on, and I've sort of done inlay, and I've put the foam strips inside to raise up the inside part of the letter. Now, that does work, and look, I'm happy with it, but I probably could have done it a little bit better. What's difficult is when I'm videoing, because the camera's above me, I don't want to get my head in the shot. You want to see what I'm doing. You don't want to see my head. So it makes it a little bit difficult to sometimes line things up. That's why I have to turn things on their side like it is at the moment. Yeah. So I'm just using the letters. You can see me there. I'm just popping the letter in and then popping the inside of the A's and the D, and just to sit it in there properly so it's exactly in the right spot. Because without these little bits in the middle, it just doesn't quite look right. I know sometimes some people leave them and they don't put those bits in, and I don't know, I prefer a cut file to have that piece in the middle. That's just my preference. Each to their own, but that's just what I prefer. So now what I'm doing is, so I haven't used any water with my oxides at all up until this point, because I wanted it to have the highest color saturation, and I didn't want it to have that that oxidized look. However, when I get to the title, when I go for these centerpieces, I've just squished in the ground espresso, and I've squished it onto my plastic, added a light spritz of water. I'm just dragging my letters through it to get them nice and brown. And it's at this point that I realize I need to add some more ink, because I put more water on there just so it could sort of travel and go all good on. And I wanted the actual title to look old, because, you know, this happened. This is part of our history. So that's what I wanted. And then what I did is I actually went and had lunch while that dried. So I didn't sit here with the air dryer. With my heat tool. I tootled off, had some lunch, came back, and this is after lunch. So this is where I sit here with my, now I do leave all of this in. It is super sped up, guys, because I know you know how to put foam and how to back letters. But as you can see, the reason I left it in here is because I'm just showing you how with these really thin strips, you can raise up something as thin as this. So don't discard these sort of fonts when you're doing a page like this, especially if you've got military photos, if it's a Memorial Day. That's what I was trying to think of before. Memorial Day. So if it's a Memorial Day thing, if it's, I don't know, Canada, I'm not sure what you celebrate in Canada. Celebrate's the wrong word. Commemorate. I know here for us, Anzac Day is really poignant. Like, everything's shut, everyone stops, there's dawn services, and it's just respect, you know. And that's why I'm not having my live until midday. So from midday onwards, I will be live on YouTube. But in the morning, No. So basically now all I'm doing, you can see me when that ticker tape moves. I apologize for that. I'll move that when I'm... Okay, so you can see here, all I'm doing is I'm peeling the tape off, and then I'm peeling the sticky backing and just popping the letter on top. So it does work. Up close you can see, and you'll notice it in the photos when you jump over to either Instagram or Facebook, and you'll notice that there's a couple of spots where you can see a little bit of the foam tape. I did go back over it with one of my mini blending brushes and just put a little bit of brown on there just to color over where it was sticky, and it worked, so I'm happy with it. I'm happy with that. This is something I have never ever done layers like this before. So this was my very first time of doing anything like this. So the one bit of advice that I can say to you guys, give it a crack. It's actually really, really easy. If you've got an electronic cutting machine, a Cricut, a Silhouette, a Silhouette Cameo, Brother Scan and Cut, all those different kinds of cutting tools, give it a crack. Honestly, it's so... Oh, sorry. Oh, apologies, that was so rude. Sorry, I didn't mean to yawn. I'm literally smelling my dinner. I've just cooked beef and red wine with rice and mushrooms and red capsicum and all that sort of thing. And I can smell it and I'm like, oh, it's all good. So now this is where I come back in, and this is on hyperspeed, guys, because I thought the edge looked too white and I'd already glued down my title. So I sort of had to come in with a couple of fine brushes. I used my larger brush around there, but then I grabbed this little tiny brush. I actually got it from Scrapbook Fantasies ages ago, 6 months more or longer, I don't know, it was probably like 6 or 7 months. I grabbed this brush, and you know what, it was perfect, absolutely perfect to get in between these letters. So thanks for that, guys. That was a great little purchase. Now this particular, so now it's got that, I'm feeling much happier with it. I think that looks much better. So thank you so much for watching. As I said, if you're watching this in the morning on the 25th of the 4th, 2023, I will be live at midday Queensland time and Australian Queensland time. So come over and join me, and we'll have some fun and do another page and maybe two, you never know. And this is the close-ups for you guys. So like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. If you've just popped over onto my channel for some reason and you haven't subscribed yet, it's free. And everyone's in the draw once we get to 1,500. And who doesn't want some cash to spend on scrapbooking supplies? So thank you so much for watching. I see how you can see that white just a little bit. It's okay. So thank you so much for watching. I will chat to you soon, and that is bye for now. Thanks, guys.